Well, hello again and welcome back to Vickie's Country Home. A little while back, I shared with you a video that showed how I made my powdered laundry detergent. And what I use in it is different than most people. Most people use Zote soap or Fels naphtha and those work great. We have a lot of skin sensitivities and I make soap. So what I've done, I make 100% coconut oil soap, zero superfat. It's a very high cleansing soap, which is perfect for laundry, but it doesn't make a ton of bubbles, which is good because you don't want to overload the bubbles in your washers, especially your high efficiency. You don't need bubbles to clean. Anybody that believes that, that's a myth. Coconut oil is extremely cleansing, so it's the perfect laundry soap. So today, I'm going to show you how I make my 100% coconut oil soap for laundry. Alright, when you're making any soap, the very first thing you do is always verify your recipe for your formula. I don't care where you get it. If you get it from me, I don't care. I want you to go to a soap lye calculator. They're free, they're online. You don't want to make a mistake. You don't want to have a soap that's lye heavy or that gets ruined because you don't have enough lye. Always go to a soap calculator. I like to use soapcalc.net lye calculator. And basically it's very simple, but there are instructions for beginners if you get confused. When you go to soapcalc.net, it's going to ask you some questions, and number one is going to be what kind of oil or oils are you using. In this case, it's going to be only 100% coconut oil with a melting temperature of 76%. Don't get confused, that's most of your coconut oils. There is a fractionated coconut oil that's a different temperature. But the regular coconut oil that you would find will be the one you want. And for laundry soap, I don't go for the expensive stuff. I actually buy it in a big bucket that has 28 pounds. So that is the inexpensive one because my laundry doesn't care if it is organic and if it's virgin or whatever it is. It doesn't care because it's just going to use to wash clothes. And then you can choose to add fragrance or not. And I don't, because even if I added fragrance to my laundry soap, I would do it in the final process, not at this point. So this is a previous recipe or formula that I printed up. And like I said, always double check. So even though I've made this many times, I went back today and double checked my numbers. And I'll try and attach a copy of this or put it in here so you can click on it. But I always double check my numbers. That way I know I'm getting the right amount of lye for my formula. And SoapCalc also has a nice feature that it will give you the information in pounds, ounces, and grams. So you can choose whichever way you want, but you do absolutely want to weigh this out. That's very important. Next of importance, safety equipment. I have my gloves. If you're uncomfortable, please wear longer gloves and long sleeves and keep totally covered. I'm comfortable doing it this way, but please be cautious. My next item is safety goggles, and I have these cute little red ones. They're onion chopping goggles, but that foam protects my eyes also, so always use safety gear. I am going to use 100% food grade lye, or sodium hydroxide, or you may see NaOH. Let me see if I can show you the label. This I buy online, but you don't have to. I have made soap. When I first started out, it all was made with lye from the hardware store. Now, the only thing you want to make sure of, if you buy this from the hardware store, is right there in yellow. I'm trying to do this backwards. Right there, it says 100% lye. You don't want anything in there except for the lye. So please make sure, if you're buying it from a hardware store, get that. You might have to ask, and they may not have it on the shelf, because unfortunately those people that make meth, and they use this. So sometimes they'll have this in the back, and it's usually the smaller hardware stores that I've found it at. And just tell them, look, I'm trying to make soap. I need some 100% lye. So that is an option rather than going online and buying these, which don't cost that much. It's the shipping that kills you. So use whatever you can get. So the goggles are going on, and I have my scale. Let's see if I can turn it. I don't know if you'll be able to see it anyway. The first thing I'm going to do is weigh out my lye. And I like to work in grams because it's a little bit more precise. So I'm going to make sure that it's zeroed out and that it is measuring in grams. And I am making 48 ounces of coconut oil. So for that 48 ounces, it is telling me to use, and that 48 ounces comes out to 1,360.78 grams. But I haven't weighed that out yet. The lye, I need 249.35. This is where you need to be careful anytime you're working with the lye. And that big old chunk put me over. And when you're working with lye, anything that I use that could possibly retain the lye, I keep reserved for making soap. Stainless steel pan I don't worry about, but anything like this that is porous or could possibly retain it, I just use only for making soap. All right, so I've weighed that out, and the first thing I'm going to do is seal my bottle. And then those will get put away very quickly. The other thing I do is when I'm working with lye, my dogs are not around. So you don't want dogs or children or any pets underfoot when you're working with lye. It's a safety issue. So I'm going to set that aside. And next I'm going to weigh out my distilled water. And you really want distilled. You could use filtered. I have filtered. I use distilled. So for the water at 36% of my oil weight, I'm going to use 489.88 grams, which basically 490 grams of water. So I keep this I found this at a used restaurant supply. Stainless steel, it's perfect. So I've got that on my scale. I'm going to zero it out. Move the lye well away from it. And I'm going to get 490 grams of water. And again, distilled water. Now the next thing I'm going to do, I'm not going to do this on camera. I've shown it in my other soap videos, but I do this inside because I have a heavy duty range hood that it's very, very strong. So I do this on my range set back because, first of all, it makes a lot of fumes and you don't want to breathe those. Trust me, do not breathe the lye fumes. So I'm going to put my container of water, distilled water, on my range, and then I'm going to very carefully, again using all my equipment, stir in the lye that I've measured out. And you want to be so careful. This will almost instantly go up very, very, very hot. I think it's around 200 degrees for me, and I'll let you know, but this, use caution. And what I'm going to do is I have my water on the range. I've got my lye, which always pour the lye into the water, never, ever the other way around. And I have a silicone spatula, again, dedicated to my soap use. Okay, mine reads 195 degrees on my instant thermometer gun. It's extremely hot, extremely fast. Put it there and just let it sit. Now, if you don't have a range hood that will pull out all of the fumes, find a well-ventilated spot. Outside if you need to, just try and do it in a protected place where no animals or children will be at risk, because the heat and the fumes are extremely dangerous. But as long as you use caution and take precautions with your safety gear, you'll be fine. While I have my lye on the range cooling a little bit, I'm going to weigh out my coconut oil. And again, I told you I buy this in a huge bucket. So I want 48 ounces. Or 1,360.78 grams. And I'm not going to bore you putting all of this in there because it's going to take me a couple minutes. So I will bring you back when it's time to mix this all together. Alright, so I put this coconut oil on the range and just melted it. That's all you want to do is melt the coconut oil. Now, my lye, first of all, you want to make sure you totally dissolve it. You don't want any lye crystals remaining. It's not as important maybe as it would be for a body soap, but you still want to be careful. And then you're going to very, very, very carefully pour the lye water into the coconut oil. Now, as soon as I get that done, I'm going to spray that with vinegar. I'm going to spray the water container with vinegar just to help neutralize the alkaline with acid real quick. It's still not safe. Don't touch it, but I will spray it and put it in the sink before I rinse it out. And I prefer just doing that right away. Now I'm going to start out just stirring it. Then I'm going to get my stick blender, and this stick blender is dedicated to soap. It's stainless steel, which is what you need, but it's got some rubber gaskets, and since it's touching lye, I don't like it being used for anything else. I have another stick blender that I use for cooking. But if you don't have one, it's okay. You can actually just use a spatula or a whisk. And you're wanting to burp this, get any air out from under where the blades are. And I used a really big pot because my other pot Brian's using right now. But it doesn't matter. And this just makes it higher side so that it doesn't risk splashing. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring this to what is called a trace. And a trace is basically an emulsification where the oil and the lye water no longer separate out. And some soaps takes quite a while. For coconut oil, it usually goes pretty fast, which is one reason you could use a whisk for this, but I have the stick blender. Alright, so this is now at a light trace, and basically you can just see marks left on top when you lift your stick blender. I want to get it to a little bit heavier trace, but it doesn't take long. Alright, we're at a heavier trace now, and you can see the surface that this has really come together. So now I'm going to take my stick blender apart. Too many people make the mistake of not doing that, and accidents happen and you get cut very badly. So I make it a point, that's the first thing I do, is take the stick blender apart. And I just want to get most of the soap off of here. And if you've seen my previous soap videos, it's not that I'm worried about the soap so much, it's that this still has active lye. And I don't want to put this down my drain because it's active lye and there's still fats. And you can actually end up, over time, causing a stoppage in your pipes. So I try and get as much of the soap off of here as I can, because again, this is not cured yet and the lye is still active. So I'm going to go put this in the sink, sprayed down. And I'm going to get my molds. And I have these nice silicone molds. You can use anything you want. You can use a cardboard box that's lined with a grocery bag or a trash bag. It doesn't matter. Especially for something like this that's utilitarian. You're not worried about the looks. We're just trying to give the soap a place to form. And I'm going to have to turn this away from you so that I don't spill it on myself. because again, you need to be very careful still. Now I'm just going to kind of tap this on the counter because I want it to fill down into the mold, and I want to make sure that it's fairly even. I just had to come back and show you what this looks like. I actually overfilled this mold. Normally I would put this amount of soap in 2 molds and comes out fine, but because this heats up so fast and because I had it filled to the top, it volcanoed on me. So it went over the sides, and it's fine. What the volcano is, it's gelling, and when it's gelling, it's actually saponifying. So like I said, this soap hardens up very quickly, so you don't want to wait too long when you're making it to take it out of the mold, because if you do, you're not going to be able to shred it, well, at least easily. You might find a way, but it's going to be tough. So I'm already going to take this out of its mold, and this was about an hour ago. This all happened within about 10 minutes. But I'm going to go ahead and take it out so that I can, first of all, be able to get it out of the mold, but also so that I'll be able to cut it. So I'm just going to break those pieces off so I can pull the mold away, especially on this end. All right, let's take this out. So my advice would be use 2 molds or a larger mold, especially if you're using a box. And I would, that way it's not going to volcano on you. So what I'm going to do, this thing is still hot. And it is already curing because the heat is what helps it cure. Now, the reason I know this, and I'm going to show you this, I'm going to take a piece of this soap that I made, just over an hour ago. I'm going to do the Zap Test. So basically, if this had lye still active in it, it's going to zap my tongue like a 9-volt battery. Nope, just tastes like soap. So the lye is not even active in this anymore. So I'm going to cut this into pieces, and let me show you what that looks like. Okay, I've got my soap cutter out. And I'm just going to take this loaf of soap, lay it in here, and I'm not going to worry about a specific size because we're just going to shred this up anyway. This just makes it more manageable. And it's already getting hard. It's already a struggle almost to cut through this, which is kind of amazing. Because most oils, your soaps are not going to be this hard for maybe days. And if you look in the center of this, this is what's called gel. And that's just, it's got super hot and it's saponified very quickly. which is what caused my little volcano. But since I don't care what these bars look like, it's not a problem, because they're going to get shredded up anyway. So we'll just cut these random sizes. In fact, there's been times when I have made this hot process just because it's quick. Now I want you to see that's the center of that end of the soap where it volcanoed. Now look at this one. That's because it got super hot and the air formed a pocket. So I'm just going to take those out. I'm going to let this cool just slightly, and I'm not going to wait very long because, like I said, it's already getting hard and it's going to be tough to cut. In fact, I'll probably just make some cubes out of this, and I'll show you why in just a few minutes. And this is why I cut the soap in chunks. When I started making a lot of this, it was a lot of grating by hand, and honestly that got really tiring. So I found this used, and it's Presto salad shooter. This is the professional model, but just find one used because it's a lot of money if you're just going to buy it to do this. But if you can get it secondhand, hey, it makes your job much easier. So I'm just going to load a few chunks in there. Put that on. And I know it's very loud, but I grated those chunks in just seconds. So just an idea, and if not, you'll need to grate them the old-fashioned way, or you can try a food processor, but I would probably recommend dropping these through the chute and using the grating blade. If you just put these in the bottom with a blade, it's probably just going to mush it up, and it's not going to give you the nice shreds that you need for making laundry soap. So I'm going to get to this and get all of this grated before it gets too hard. This is that entire loaf of soap, 48 ounces of coconut oil, shredded and ready to be used to make my laundry soap. And this took me about 10 minutes with a salad shooter. And it was getting really hard. It was already hardening almost to the point where my poor salad shooter wouldn't work anymore. So you really want to keep an eye when you make this. You want to give yourself time to go ahead and get it cut and get it shredded before it gets hard. And this is still warm. It happened that quickly, which about an hour and a half. So that's my coconut oil soap for laundry. And you can use this to make the powder that I've already got a video on up there, I think. And I'll probably be making a video soon. I may do laundry sauce instead of laundry butter. I don't know. We'll see when that comes up. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. If you did enjoy it, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and share. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll talk again soon.